Right, so let's begin. So today I wanted to show you how to also create more graphic images of stuff you can see around. We do tend to make things more towards realistic representations, but if you can get your hand to do something more graphic, you can do things a lot quicker. Plus, it changes the flavor of the page a little bit and makes it fun to go through some stuff that looks realistic, some stuff that looks more like an illustration. And we can also do a bit of writing today. So, I'm going to share a blog with you that I got some of this information from, and they have described the different breads that we're going to do in just short lines. So we don't have to go through a whole Wikipedia page and distill all of that information. So just use that to furnish details for our illustrations, and also show you how to make a graphic of a person who is like a stall owner who is selling one of the breads. That way you get a feel of something like street food that you can cover. All right, so let's go through the images that I've shared from the back. So from the latest to from the last to the first image. So while I was looking at the different foods, I found that Turkish coffee has a very peculiar way of cooking and pouring, and I'm sure that's why it also must taste very different. And it's all quite magical the way they do this whole heating it in a pot of sand. So I tried to look for the whole contraption, but it was just so vast. I said, forget it, let's just make this container that is good to start with, in which I can also show you how to create some details like highlight within something that is a metallic surface. So we have this, then we have a vendor of this bread called simit, and the bread looks like this, and then that's what gave me the idea that we could do a whole lot of breads. They have all sorts of different kinds of breads. I might add one or two more pictures because I don't like the idea of having four pictures in a page, but let's see as time goes. If we have space and time, we can do this. So we'll start off with making an illustration of this vendor, and once we do that, then we can move on to the bread and then make the rest of the breads as well. And somewhere in there we have to find room for this coffee. Now, knowing that we have to fill one whole double spread with all these items, we have to think about how much space we want to give to all of these. And because we are jam packing everything in this page, we can make the illustration slightly small. So we will be able to draw a lot of them very quickly. Now let's look at this person. I know drawing people can be terrifying for everyone, so I am going to simplify it for you a little bit. Let's just go over what we see in this. As usual, we will be breaking everything up into simpler shapes. So if you look at the person, this is just, I guess you can draw a U-shaped form, an oval shaped on top of the U, and then two rectangles, and that's actually what the figure really is. And within that, then we make the detail. So it's not going to be very difficult for you. And also, don't look at the vendor as a person, but as an item in the image that we have to draw. So say we make the a shape of a flattish diamond like that, which is going to be his stand. Draw just stick figures of these and then bulk them up with some dimension. and literally just make ovals on top with a little bit of with a few folds here or there, and that should take care of the bread part. Now while we see maybe he's got 50 pieces of bread, we don't have to draw each and every one of those. We just draw the ones that are in the front and then just curves for the side. Now for the man, this is what I mean by a U shape. I'm sure you can draw this form a little bit below the diamond and about twice as much above, and then draw the legs just as tall as the back leg, and you should get the proportions of the person as well. Once you draw this, then we can draw the head. The head does not sit above but within the top part of that oval. I am going to share this with you, so you don't have to try to quickly draw it right now. Just observe, just keep looking at the screen, and we will draw this together. By the way, I think that turkey is not native to the country. Huh? I think it is an American bird.
Yes, it is. It was just a pun on turkey because it
I,
was just written like that, so I thought of turkey.
I, I've always wondered why the country was called this, and then found out that the bird was from somewhere else. What's the point?
Actually, we are saying Turkey, Turkey, so they
Yeah,
don't have a problem.
they don't.
No, that's why I think they've changed their name. The name of the
Really, because they
country.
don't want to look like a turkey. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an unfortunate association. No? It's just so sad. Okay,
But yeah, well, the turkey is not so bad.
no, it's not that. I think it's inaccurate. That's about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's fold the page again. So make this fake journal page for ourselves. And let's make uh, the vendor on the left, and then we can make the breads on the right.
Coffee pot somewhere in the corner. Somewhere.
Yeah, we'll think about the coffee pots. At the moment, don't fill up the whole page. The whole reason for making the rough guides is to at least give us an idea of how long our lines need to be to fill up the space and how much it's filling up. Otherwise, if very often people would start from somewhere over here, and then that man becomes so tiny. So don't do that. If you get a sense of the height that you want to occupy, then we can, and we are going to make him a little to the left, because the way I envision this is to make the vendor on the left, draw one tiny or two tiny cement over here, maybe make the coffee pot like this, so we get a nice C-shaped composition. And because luckily the bread is a hollow shaped, almost like a bagel, it can then lead to a larger illustration of a cimet over here. So almost looks like a thought bubble. And then we could probably do 1, 2, 3, 4 breads. Let's see how that looks, and then write breads of turkey or something like that here. Okay, so let's make that diamond shape somewhere over here. It's not too big. And remember, these are guidelines, so this is all going to be erased. Make that U shape. 2/3 of it is above, and 1/3 or so, even less than, below. I'll just bring this closer now that you know my scale. And I think by now you should be able to visually figure out how long the legs should be. Use the reference image of the width of his tray and see that it is about the same size below, not longer than that. So use this. And the angles should be easy enough. At every point, I want you to keep checking if you are making the shapes like they're supposed to be. Because you should not make all of this, make the man, and then realize that maybe the leg in the back is touching the left front leg of the table rather than right front leg. So keep those things under check always. Then you have this, the jacket of the man coming from below. For the hand, now again, we would be tempted to start the man's body from the head down, but the part that is coming closest to the tray is the part that we should begin with. So start making this palm in just the outer shape that you see, which is almost like a little rectangle. And from there, just draw straight lines. Even this chap is going to be in as a graphic, so we don't really have to make too many details here. Then we draw his jacket. And then draw a face that is not really oval, but it has some kind of shape with that cap. Don't bother making the face right now. We don't even need to make the face. The jacket opens to the bottom. And the legs are no longer than the back leg of his own tray. So in order for the legs to not look like two distinct sticks, you could do a little bit of an overlap over here. The leg on our right hand side, so this the person's left leg, can come further down and overlap the leg in the back, and this leg needs to stand straight as well because he'll look like he's leaning funnily. So when drawing shoes, how do you make the shoes not look like stumps? That is always the question. So the shoes will not look like stumps if you create some shapes like these, which there's some like I don't even know how to explain it. It should not look like a boxing glove at the end. So there is you can actually just make the toe. No, I know how I will translate this later, but I need to show this to you. Whenever you get a chance to, please practice shoes. There's something about the foot and the hand that just doesn't work. Okay, so here we have this is the pants leg. Here we have the pants leg as well. I have a little compound curve coming from the back. This is for the back leg. Not a very big foot. Then a compound curve for the front and goes back like that. It also has a little heel, an indent for the heel. For the left, it's all just, I'm actually just translating the shapes that I see in the picture. So a little bit of an ankle here. This is fairly straight, and then laces like that. This is all that we are going to draw in pencil, and then let us draw these simit. So make the ones in the front right next to each other. Just make 4, or depends on how much space you have. And in order for these to not look like just donuts, actually even if you're making donuts, this is how we make the 3D effect. So you draw an inverted C on the inside of every oval, and you complete that with a C shape coming from a little inside that inverted C. Once more, make an inverted C inside the outline, and then overlap or underlap that with another shape. It can be a very tiny overlap also, but it makes a difference in how we see the bread. Then we have to just make these kind of lines if you want to, but you can just make bumpy ovals. This, I'm now drawing the inside first and then the outside. And when you're drawing the remaining simit, just make sure they don't look like a pattern. They should look like a convincing. If I were to draw a line going through to complete the shape, it should look like it can be completed. Okay, now let's start inking. Everyone with me, or are you taking more time? If you're taking more time, you're probably erasing and redrawing and redrawing. And if you are stuck on the shoes, just abandon them. Just make some weird shape. I'll show you later. Right now, just don't even make anything. I will show you how to make some simpler shoes. But don't let those shoes stop you. Okay, now when inking, start with the object that you see in the front. And make sure that you put some 3D element onto that as well. And because we are looking at the person from the right side, the 3D on the right side will be visible. So you don't have to be worried about where should I make the 3D. Keep your lines clean. And make them strong. This is the front of the tray. So our bread can actually be a little overlapped by the lip of the tray. And you can make the shapes a little bumpy, not zigzag bumpy, just a little bumpy to accommodate for all those twists in the bread. Now, these are the places where I find that in the beginning you get a little hesitant. So you'll end up making lines like this. They don't go and touch anything. And these negative spaces that are left blank can wreak havoc in your full illustration. So don't be afraid. Just touch objects which are meant to touch. By not touching them, you're just not committing to it. Um, it's like if somebody comes and says, do you know where the murderer ran to? You're saying, yeah, okay, I may know, I may not know. It's that kind of a thing. It's like plausible deniability. Don't keep it that way. Just bindas draw. This is another case in point where when I often face this when people say I cannot draw a single straight line, you'll notice that we do not really need to draw too many straight lines. And bumpy lines can come in handy more than straight lines can. Now these hollows are looking a little unnatural because if they are hollow, we should be able to see some of the bread through them as well. So you can just draw another little bit of bread, like if you got something from the back, it can run past this hole so that the bread is more visible. But make the logic work. Sometimes it's okay, you can be carefree. I wouldn't say careless, but carefree. The lines don't have to talk to each other, anything goes. But in some places, it's just a better feeling if the lines are making sense. And you spend a little time thinking about that. Like we have a problem with feet and shoes, hands are the next tough problem. So, again, I recommend don't even bother with making the fingers, just make a silhouette of the hand like this. And over here, we have another silhouette of a hand like this. It's just an oval shape with one part shown as a thumb. And now we can start making everything from the face down. I'm going to reduce the height of my fellow's face. His head is looking too large. And honestly, just make the shapes that you see. Don't even bother whether something is a shirt or a jacket or a sweater or an overcoat, anything. It's if you see it a certain way, just make it like that. So I'm just making the bulk of the jacket. I'm tempted to make more shapes like that for the arm and the folds, but don't overdo it because the focus has to remain on the bread part. A sketch like that is also very doable in a short time. You'll notice that the things that worry us the most are faces, trying to draw those, and in the time that you will erase and draw and redraw the face, you could draw 4 different types of bread, which is exactly what we're going to do. I think he is wearing something like an apron, which is really sweet. So I'm going to make it like a short apron. And a sweater inside as well. Now for the pants, although we have drawn very almost rectangular, narrowing rectangle, you can make a few bumpy lines like that, because that will imitate the shape of the pants as they would naturally sit on the body. And since this shape that I've made is the apron, the pant leg will come from behind. That's it. How much time did we take to do this? 15 minutes? Not bad. Now, before we make the tiny summit over here, because my man has become really tiny, I think I would like to make the big summit on the right hand page. Here's now we can add more detail. Actually we could draw a lot of sesame seed on this, because we don't really need to paint any of these, but I'll show you both ways. If you have two different thicknesses of pen, like a 0.1 and a 0.5, then today is the day we can use that. So wait a minute, let's go over all the bread shapes. We've got a circle here, another circle. These two breads apparently have the same name. Under one name I found two varieties, so we can make these together. So one circle, two circle. This is an boat shape, and then this is a stack of some breads. They all have names, and I'll send the article also, so you can read that. So we can start off with exactly the same order: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we can make one here. That is the summit. So we want to make all the bread about the same size, not too big. Maybe the boat shape can come like that. And then the last one is that stack, which almost looks like a stack of naan. Can just be ovals. And the stack is meant to show that these are maybe stuffed or flat or something like that. So how do you show the character of the bread when there's no description available? So one assumes that these can be cracked and this one can be rolled. That is the assumption. Okay. Now for the cement, make a donut shape. And then you make these simple uh, curved lines, like a compound curve shape, which will originate closer in the inner circle, because obviously that is smaller, and then spread outward a greater distance in the outer circle. And I don't really have to explain all of this to you, because I'm sure you'll be able to see it. But what you need to know or need to observe is that the inner circle doesn't remain a circle anymore, neither does the outer circle. And there are some more areas where you will have some cracks. So, how you illustrate it, to really have fun, you need to follow this line of the silhouette. At some places, the sesame seeded part will come higher up, will bounce up, then you have a little tear in the bread, then there are twists which you can just show with lines which are overlapping. And that should do it. Let me get my thin pen. Those of you who are working with pen and ink, you can use pen and ink here. I have an even thinner pen. I hope this is working. So this is a 0.05. Let's see how well it works. Now, remember that we have a whole lot of sesame seed on top. So we can't make it a smooth line. Ideally, to make it look like a graphic, make the sesame seed on the surface and especially on the edge, because that distinguishes the different textures, the inner texture and the outer texture. So line the two. So even though you don't make each and every seed, which again is something that you can do if you're really traveling, then these are the things that you should leave to do in at airports when you have to wait between flights. That's how I leave some of my artwork unfinished. And often we will have the picture handy, so you don't have to hunt for pictures and all. And because we don't have time to make all these seeds, you can just make some seeds along the edge, or keep making that edge a little bumpy. See, like this, not very smooth. And for the torn part in the middle, just make a broken line so it's a little softer. This way you can finish the illustration faster. Remember, the whole point of this illustration is to be able to draw faster than realistic illustration. Now notice how the inside part of the bread comes from a little underneath, and it has its own layers of sesame. So there's a little overlap from the left and the right. Just follow the lines. When you come to the sides and the bread is rolling outward, the sesame seed will be slightly flattened, and on top they will be larger. When you're making these seed also, sometimes it works if you just make clumps of them in different places instead of distributing them evenly throughout. Okay, we'll come back to this as and when. The next bread should be easy enough. I'll tell you the name. This is called Pide, I think. Pide. Pide. I don't know how it's pronounced. So this one is fairly simple. You can draw a weird ovalish shape. For this one, please draw one continuous line. We want an imperfect circle. But if you draw lines like that, that imperfect line will make it look as if there is hair on the bread. And the last place you want hair is on bread or anything food. So just draw. If it's an oval, it's an oval. Doesn't matter. Then inside we are going to draw another line which is slightly broken and even slightly more bumpier than the outside, because this is how the bread has been cut. And here now do not intersect the lines. So if you want to, we can make pencil lines running across. So two lines running between northeast and southwest, and three lines running in the other direction, the opposite direction. Maybe a third line here would also do. And here now we will make lines in between without really crossing both ways, because the crossing over here will not look very appetizing literally. So one line is going through that intersection, but the other line stops short. Quickest bread making. The next one shouldn't be difficult also. Just make a weird boat shape which is like a stretched almond and a little bump on the edges because I think there's some pinching of the dough involved here. And if you're following the picture, then you'll notice that the edge of this bread becomes a little thinner on the top side and becomes a little or remains a little fatter towards the bottom, indicating that we are looking at the bread from the right. And here you will make a few lines along the inside of the top edge. Inside of the bread part. Now, making fillings often can seem daunting, but remember, we don't really need to indicate that this is any particular kind of filling. We just have to make a silhouette of the shape made by the filling. I'm making it a little inside from the further edge because I need it to look as if it's inside the boat. And for variation, you can put a few leaves like that, which can add to the texture of the filling. So you don't fill this up with really sketchy lines. Just make the herbs and the embellishment stand out, and that should do it. Great, I like how this is looking. And then the last one is just stacks that are oval stacks on one on top of the other. So always draw the top first, which is just, if you notice the outline, it's just one big bumpy oval. Nothing to it. And if you want to make those bubbles, don't make a full oval, just make shapes that are like that, because we see the top and we see the edge. From the inside edges, again, we can make a few compound curve shapes that look like it is really bubbled up along the edges. So everywhere you draw anything that looks like a dough which has bubbled up, look for the shadows it creates and just indicate the shadows with your dark line. Look at how the line becomes very round on the side and then flattens up to become the bread. And the stuff that we see in color, we will not see in black and white. So don't try to replicate that. That can often backfire. That's it. Okay, everyone with me? Do you need a minute? Okay, I'm sharing the link with you now so we know the names of the different breads. Okay, so we know that this is simit. Then this is according to, yeah, this is PD, both these. And this is maybe Bazlama. Now, if you want to make the images look more graphic, you can use a thicker pen to just go around the edges. Not around every edge, but just the outline of the silhouette. I'm using a 0.3, but even a 0.5 or a 0.8 will change the look of the graphic. So it will create more emphasis on the object, making it stand out. So you just silhouette around it. I need a fatter pen. So this outline helps to clean up some edges also. Now when it comes to the simit, please take the trouble of going around all those sesame seed like shapes as much as you can. If it's becoming too bumpy, forget it. But at least to some extent, the outline needs to convey the texture of that bread. Hopefully, last month's doodle exercise will have helped your hands become steady for this line. Let's not leave the vendor out. One tip when you are making a line like that, which has to follow the outline of whatever you've drawn, rotate the book so that you always see where that line is. So if you were to draw like that, then your pen, the edge of your pen is obscuring part of the line. So there are chances that you might go off. Just turn this around, turn the book around so that you can see at all times where the line is going. Because when you are at a certain momentum, you cannot really stop your line unless, and then it makes the whole thing look rather ugly. The line stops in the wrong place. This goes to all of you who are not holding the book when you're making this line. Probably holding your face, your head. This is the time when you should control the book. So only outlines. Do not make anything inside darker. Then otherwise it will just lose all its significance. Okay, now let's do some interesting lettering. I'll wait to make the coffee. First, let's look at the text here. So whenever you have a distribution of items like that, don't just start writing, because you have to look at your writing also as part of the composition. So what I recommend is draw a frame around the bread. So I'm letting a little bit of the bread stick outward, maybe an inch the from this, which is the edge of a simulated edge of the page on the right hand side. So this gives me only this space internally to write the text on, which is great because now I can distribute the text per bread like that. Also, definitely leave a text wrap. So, text wrap is a space around any illustration where the text will not appear, so that you don't go and accidentally bump into your illustration. It can look very tacky. And then draw some more lines, and these horizontal lines are not meant to be base lines. These are supposed to be guidelines. The difference over here will be that we are not going to write on the line, we are going to write within the line, between these lines. Now also, this is a nice place to try some lettering skills. So what if we make some interesting letters? Don't do any twirlies, but we could try something like that. The M is made to look a little medieval. This is PD. So the stems, the main stem is made thick on top and thin in the middle. here. And the E also is made to look a little more insular. Okay, we need to maintain the height of our letters so that everything looks like it's a good composition. The last bread is called, what is it called again? Sorry, I keep forgetting the name. Bazlama. What a lovely name. It sounds like it is exploding out of the oven. Now here, I would like to state that these lettering styles are not something that I come up with out of thin air. I seek these out on Instagram, or if I find an artist who I like just by luck, I will note these lettering styles down. I'll write them somewhere in a journal or something, and also say which artist it is who has written this. So there's a calligrapher named Brody Newen. I'll send you his name. He makes some amazing fonts. And there is a fabulous graphic artist named Joke Budens. I'll send you her link as well. She's my absolute favorite. And she has a lot of graphic travel, not just travel, lots of graphic art with lettering. Brody Newen. Neuenschwander. I will send you his details as well. Now, while we are supposed to write our text based on how much, the titles based on how much text we have, I tend to do it the other way around. I don't really care too much about the explanation of the breads, but I want my titles to look really stunning. So I will modify the text around the titles. Now, one way we can do this is either make the title big, or you could make the title in a box. So this is the outline. These are just different ideas I want to give you. I'm writing the name of the bread towards the right side, and I'm going to block this whole thing up and color it up, maybe even in black or red. So I'm making my shape slightly wider because I know I'm going to color in between. I don't want the letters to be eaten up by the outline. Okay, this eye has gone too low. Fortunately, that is the edge of my title block. And I'm going to give a bumpy silhouette on the left. And And I will use our waterproof ink to paint. Oh, my waterproof ink has dried up, sorry. Sosumi ink to get a nice dark color. This is one of those pages where less it can be more. Don't be tempted to put color everywhere. I prefer to not paint so much with the micron tip pen just because I want to conserve that ink. Those pens are, one is that they're disposable, and the idea of using up all the ink to just color up something that I can paint is quite dreadful. So in the tiny spaces, if you're not confident, then definitely use a thin micron pen. And in the fatter places, just paint. You can use regular black paint, you can use waterproof ink, anything to give us a nice dark color. Watercolor black, however, wouldn't be a good option because that tends to look gray. After all, it is meant to just be for watercolor painting. Okay, next comes PD. So if time permits, it helps to um, calculate how much text you're going to write and then make the titles. And also just make sure that everything is in a straight line. Even if it's a bumpy line, just straight. Another thing to remember is keep the sizes of the letters, the words which are in the same font for the same purpose, keep them uniform. So all these are end of day activities that you should plan for when you're traveling. This is something that you don't need to be on location for, or in a place where only you and your book can be enough. Okay, when you are writing, also, the reason I have given these lines are because I want you to see how um, you can make multiple lines and then write in between those lines rather than on those lines. And that's quite an interesting technique to use because then you can just make equidistant lines for yourself, which are guidelines. Also, use a thin enough pen to write whatever you're writing. So, I'm just going to copy out what I can read about this in the. I've shared a link with you, right? Yes, I have. Mama Fatma, who writes about simit. So it says, what is it? A crispy circular bread coated in sesame seed, often compared to a bagel. So just you can turn the language around, make it your own. But when you are writing, be conscious of the writing part. So I want all of you to just try to write this during class. I know I often leave this to you later, but let's try doing this. Okay, this is the speed I want you to try writing it at. And I have a feeling that when you write the body text, everyone just tends to go really fast because you want to see the finished page as soon as possible. And in that, which is the last bit, it's like most tragedies occur in the last mile from the house. That is what this is, our last mile, and ruined by just rushed writing. In keeping with the rest of the style, I'm changing my E and making it rounded like this. And some of the R's and the K's, I will let the leg go below the waistline. So in this also, don't do too many twirlies. Again, stop yourself from doing that. Keep your letters away from each other so that they don't bang into each other. That's why we often write, I at least often write, using all caps. Now, since we are drawing these lines freehand, keep an eye on your guidelines. As you can see, these two guidelines that I have drawn have come really close to each other. So I have to consciously change my writing so that it does not become suddenly too small or too fat, too tall, without my wanting it so. If there is any more info, then I will add a little later, but I think this is enough. So let's see if I remove the lines. How does this look? This is another thing. Don't be scared of erasing some guidelines to check if your composition is working without any additional elements. And if it is, then refrain from filling it up too much. This is good enough. I don't really need to fill up all the way till here. So as we fill the rest, and I'm going to fill the remaining also in the same manner, you'll start seeing how this starts becoming more like an infographic than just an illustration. And over here, we can do something similar so that the two tie in. We can create another graphic lettering style over here, street vendor in Turkey or something like that. So you can put a frame around our dude and this time write the letters sideways. So we write street vendor and write Turkey. Now don't change the style in facing pages too much. So here again I'm going to make it writing in reverse. This month when we are doing these lettering, no, I would like all of you to explore different styles of lettering as well. So here my S is going a little beyond. I'm going to write the letters instead of just doing this, and then also make it black from outside it. I suppose we could use this style to write something of more importance than just the fact that this fellow is a street vendor. So maybe if there were a name for what a street vendor is called, then might have been a better option. But in the absence of any clear information on that, I'm just going ahead with how a street vendor would look in this style. Now, just so you know, many artists do use scales in a situation like this. So, if you feel the need to use a scale, please do it. Okay, now color this up. But before we end, I want to show you one more thing. That this is the only coloring part that I like to do. Even if we make this completely black and white, you can add some more black texture in this. You can also go ahead and color these and make the breads look like real breads. I'm going to experiment with both. I'm going to finish the page fully in black and white, click a picture, but you can also put a little bit of a shadow, and that really makes the picture look so interesting. This shadow may be black, or it may be blue, it may be brown. It really brings out the uh, the illustration. So let's try making a shadow with pencil. So just like a regular pencil shading exercise, and see how that looks. We are going to make the shadows in the on the right side and the bottom. So just this little bit gray thing looks so cool. And because it's in pencil, it's not really scary like watercolor. So all you need to do is make a slight shaded effect on any two sides, let's say. So bottom and right. So just the southeastern part of the bagel will have a shadow underneath it. And as you come away from the edge of the, not the bagel, what's it called? The cement, you can make the shading lighter and lighter. And if you happen to be in the possession of a nice stump, you can use that pen shading stump to blend even further. You don't have to make it too large. Again, just because you're putting some effort over there doesn't mean that it has to stand out. It's just there to give a hint of dimension. It instantly makes even the graphic look so tantalizing. See, it really lifts up the illustration. Okay, now we have no time, but can we take 5 minutes and try to make that coffee pot?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I like
More than
Bhavani.
5 minutes.
Has Bhavani left or is she there? Okay. Okay. No, I saw the cat taking over your class. Okay, okay. Here we go. This should be easy enough after all this complicated stuff. So we can draw this at the bottom right of our render. So we can draw it over here. If you want to, use a pencil to make the basic shape. And if we make the coffee serving pot here, its handle can come to the other side of the page, and this and the bread can align. It doesn't have to be the exact same angle, but it can, this kind of composition really works.
You're playing Turkish music, Aditi.
Yeah, I found a thing called Turkish instrumental jazz on Spotify. I've I find that sometimes the music, if it's right, it just sets the mood so well. You somehow if you've been to a place and you are familiar with it, then I'm sure you might start smelling the food and the market and all also. Okay, handle from the bottom part of the neck, not the top. This, I made that mistake. It's much longer than I had imagined. And first, just make the whole handle like one big cylinder and then give it its silhouette. So, make the center of the first part narrow, and then from there, the next part will come. So, if you want to draw it like a graphic, again, we do the same thing. Make the thin lines first. So for glasses and objects like those, I have shown you how to do this before. Make the oval in the foreground first, just halfway. Don't attach it at the top, and the background oval just comes halfway towards the front. Don't complete it in the front. That way you can give that thickness some um, and since this is a graphic, if even if your ovals are not perfect according to perspective, that's fine. What is Turkish coffee called? Any idea?
It's called Turkish coffee.
Oh, okay. No, it
It
doesn't.
actually is. They boil it with the grounds. It's much like the way we make tea. I personally don't like it, but yeah, it's very famous.
But is there its own name? Does it have its own name?
Um, it's actually, yeah, I think it's the method of preparation that they refer to usually.
Acha.
So it's you boil the grounds, the coffee grounds with the water, and
Yeah.
then when you pour it, sometimes you get a taste of that of the grounds in your mouth.
Wow. Okay.
Not wow, I didn't like it.
I'm not really fond of grounds in my mouth either, so but I found the trick to experiencing anything new is to not call it by a familiar name. The moment you say it's like coffee, it conjures up something in your head, and then if it doesn't match that, it is it's such a disappointing experience. So I tend to call it something else. Then I don't mind the experience because it's just something new. You may objectively like it or dislike it, not because it's not like something that you expected.
It's called Turk Kahvesi,
Kavesi, yeah.
Kahvesi, and Turk as with an thing
Umlaut.
on top. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's try making that. So this time we can write without any backdrop and focus on the letters. Maybe.
Aditi, I'll have to leave now.
Yeah, not a problem.
Do the rest of it later.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, this is done. So I'm filling this up now with the fat pen because again, more efficient that way. And once you've made that outline,
The chicken. Yeah. Just
in most cases, you will be able to fill this without any of the ink coming outside if you don't go into the very thin areas. Now here, if you want to make this the coffee container look like it has all this design, you can make some of the design as you see it also. So I can make it like line art over here. Let me show you. So it's got all this design. You can, like one would, one can paraphrase a design, like you would paraphrase a story. You get the idea of the design and you just fill up the information as you think it should be filled up. Like in this case, we have some uh, grapes, I think, and there's a grapevine. So you can make a design of the grapevine with these grapes and the leaves to the best of your ability in the space that you have available. And then, of course, there are some of these twirly-whirly lines which are adding to the complexity of the design. So whatever you can do, you can replicate.
Aditi, I'll have to leave. Thank you. It was
All
such a
right.
bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Alfie, I'll have to leave too. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
I'll just finish this and I'll put up the pictures. Bye, everyone. Whoever needs to leave can leave. I'm going to be just finishing up some of this stuff, just at least this part, and then I will also end the session. But I just
Right.
want all of some of this in the recording. So if you need to leave, you can just exit, no problem.
I'm here till you finish. I have
Okay.
The trig is always a problem for me. The widths go all awry.
What is
Even
always
with lettering never looks nice.
because of what do you think?
I draw lines. I try and draw lines, but I think I just need to measure the width of my line properly so that they're all the same width. It's always the width that keeps varying.
But
So
Elaine,
yes,
I think you should be able to draw lines. They're
without
just
the
lines. Yeah, don't think of them as drawing lines for lettering. Maybe that is the issue. Because it's you have drawn enough lines to be able to draw lines.
I know, but when I write, mm, then the heights start differing. That's the problem.
Okay.
It's
We
very untidy.
figure out there should
Yeah,
be
yeah.
an easier solution than.
No, I just have to draw my lines accurately and then keep within that for the top and the bottom. That is
Yeah, that is true. That you have to.
that's the one that's a problem. Doesn't look very nice even. Now my capital letters that we did this is a crispy circular bread. I
Mhm.
didn't realize that when you zoomed out, then I realized, oh my goodness, they're so small, the letters.
Oh, okay.
And I wrote them like, okay, filling up that coated in sesame. I'll show you what I mean here. I think you'll manage to see.
Right. Okay. Okay. So
See, you
that's
know what
how
I
it
mean? Look how big they are. It shouldn't be this big.
No, but it's not bad. No, no, this is not
No,
bad
no.
at all.
But the little
Wait,
ones leave
let's see.
space.
Let's see.
It leaves space. Your things leave space.
Oh no, but this is fine. This is perfectly fine. You don't need to make this any smaller. This is okay. What pen have you written this with?
With that point 0 1 or whatever one that what is it? Uh, 0 1, what we have, no?
Okay.
But
Yeah, so
I'm
that
not.
is fine.
This is
There's nothing
tiny and
wrong.
nice, and it leaves so much space around
That's
your writing, no?
yeah, but don't worry about that. That's just I guess something that
You have that idea in your head that it
already
should look like.
exactly.
That's it. That it's only after I finish that I get the picture.
Yeah, but you can't blame yourself for that because
uh,
every person, I mean, when you were making it, if you were showing me how to do it and I had preempted and I did something, I could have easily misunderstood what size you
oh,
might have meant. So don't worry about that. That's not a problem. But if we were to analyze the lettering,
yeah,
that looks pretty good. That is
that
looking
is
even
capitals,
enough.
no?
Yeah. Okay, here again, I'm making that shadow. So in the design on the coffee pot, you'll notice that though I have made the design quite complex, some places I have left space between the lines. I've not touched the line like I had insisted that everyone touches the line over here. Here I haven't because this is metallic filigree carving, and the places where I don't draw the line, I'm trying to simulate some highlight over there. Nice. This is a nice graphic page. I quite like it.
It's lovely. All very balanced and nicely done.
So you will notice that this page is almost 100% inspired by the travel pages of Joe Prudence.
Okay.
I absolutely love her style, but I can at least say that I was onto this style a little before I even knew of her, and I have proof of that, thank goodness. Otherwise, I would have to hide away in embarrassment.
Oh, come on.
This was
Nothing is ever original. Somebody the other will always be.
true, but I love her style so much that I don't even bother hiding that I am completely influenced by her. But this journal I
Really.
made before, I hadn't known of Instagram at this point. So I was
Oh,
making
lovely.
graphic pages like,
Wow.
which was very close to her style. So I
Okay.
breathed such a sigh of relief that I am not a complete moocher of somebody else's design. So
I'm a
I'm,
complete moocher of your design. So what the hell?
yeah, but this one you must see.